Alright, what is up guys? So last night I recorded like a 20-minute long video going over the patch notes before the patch actually, or not before the patch came out, before the service came out, so everything went live. Uh, but I decided that probably wasn't the best idea to upload that video because I don't think my reaction to the patch notes was as severe as it should have been after seeing the actual changes in the game. And as per usual, the patch notes don't fully describe the changes they actually did. So, just to start off with, I'm going to give a quick overview, and then I'm going to go into some of the specifics that I think are probably the most egregious. I will mention a few things in the patch notes that I think are really, really bad that need to be changed. Looking at you, Barbarians. But other than that, I'm not going to go over the patch notes entirely. So, to start off with, they are normalizing gear across rarities. If you want to know what that means, let's take a look. You see I have a purple arming sword here with 37 damage, which I believe is not even something that you can get anymore, but I could be wrong on that. Better yet, let me find a falchion. Okay, this falchion was 43 weapon damage. Let's just say I go to the weaponsmith, and then let's look for... Oh, poor grade falchion has 42 weapon damage. So right there, you can already see kind of what this is doing. Then, let's go take a look at this Dark Cuirass. Gray Dark Cuirass, 81 armor, 30 magic res, 2 strength, 2 will, 3 resourcefulness. Purple Dark Cuirass, 83 armor, 30 magic res, 2 will, 2 strength, 3 resourcefulness. So, yeah, that is the large thing that they did for gear this patch. They basically made it so gear, like I said, it's equalized across ranks, and that continues up to legendary and unique as well. I saw a frost pendant that someone posted in trade chat last night with a unique one that had 2 true damage on it, because they're all equalized to 2 true damage. So yeah, immediate reactions to this were, on one hand, it's really, really good for players that don't want to grind and just want to get in and play the game. But that's only like the first thing. It's good for those players for a certain amount of time until they then realize, oh wait, I can't get anything better, or what's the point of me trying to get good gear because it's not really much better than what I have. So how the game works right now is your base stats are irrelevant on an item because they're almost always the same. The rarity only determines how many rolls there are. So, for example, there is literally zero reason to use a purple piece of gear unless it is 3 good rolls, as opposed to a blue piece of gear with 2 good rolls. And a purple piece of gear with 3 good rolls is a lot more rare, right? Because, purple gear is more rare, then you have to RNG all 3 good rolls. So overall, before, like, even if, let's say, like, if you had a blue with 2 good rolls and a purple with 2 good rolls, there was still reason to use the purple because the base stats were higher. Not the case anymore. Like I just showed, their stats are all equalized. Which, like I said, it lowers it lowers the incentive to get better gear. Because unless it's like literal BIS, like every roll is good, it's just not as good. Which is the exact same case for something like a piece of unique gear. So now, like, pretty much what they did was they brought up the lower end and they lowered the high end. They kind of just squished it to everything being around the purple standard of gear. Because generally speaking, purple gear with about 2 rolls was where most players... That's like the type of gear most players run. Most players were not running purple, legendary, perfect roll on every piece of gear. That is just not what it was. Then, outside of that, they also did some nerfing of actual stats. As you see here, Grim Smiles are now 2 strength, 1 vig. Yeah, much, much worse there. They lowered some rolls, like max health. Max health can only roll 4. And you can no longer roll max health and max health bonus on the same piece of gear. And then the other thing they did, boots. These are not a good example because these didn't have them on then. Boots can no longer roll double move speed. You can roll additional move speed or percent move speed. You cannot roll them both on the same piece. So so it's only single move speed boots. Then one of the last things, Necklace of Peace is now only 5 max health. Okay, I mean, to be fair, I don't even care that much about this. I've been saying this should be the case for a long time. I don't think Necklace of Peace should exist in the game because it was literally just Bear Pendant but better. So I'm actually okay with this one. Uh, but yeah, Necklace of Peace is basically useless now. Purple Bear Pendant's better. Then they changed a couple pieces of gear around, like the Wanderer attire. Let's see if there's any on the market. I can show you guys. Uh, Wanderer attire, 3 strength, 3 dexterity. It's that white rarity, by the way. 3 strength, 3 dexterity. So yeah, a lot of pretty insane stat changes you see here. Legendary Frost Amulet, 2 true fizz damage. Uh, pretty crazy there. Cloaks, and you can see, and the thing is, also, sorry, before I forget this, as you see, the armor rating is really low. The armor rating value for everything is brought down to the white rarity. So that's like, you see this full kit I'm wearing, I'm 44.4% PDR with Defense Mastery on. So they nerfed PDR incredibly hard as well. Golden Cloak is especially bad now because of this, because one of the upsides of Golden Cloak was it had a high armor rating. Doesn't have that anymore. Brave Hunters are still incredibly OP. They only lost one. Somehow, they only lost 1 agility. I don't know how. These things are still, like, insanely good. Even better than before because of how many stats that were lost. These things are insanely efficient. But, yeah, these are most of the item changes. Like I said, it was pretty much equalized across all ranks. It is certainly an interesting one. I mean, also, magic resistance gear is horrible now because magic resistance gear is brought down to the white rank. So, as you see, 18 magic res, 19 magic res. And everybody lost 15 HP. So, basically, everyone's a lot squishier while they didn't really adjust damage that much. Like, yes, there was a few things adjusted, and you see rings. Rings are only rolling, like, 2 now of a stat, as you see here. Necklaces are rolling 3. But yeah, it's certainly an interesting change. And yeah, so that's pretty much it for gear. Now to talk about it a little bit more. Like I said, I don't hate that they changed gear. I don't. I'm relatively indifferent towards it because at the end of the day, I enjoy the game for what it is. I will say that this removes a lot of the incentive a lot of players have to play the game, that is to get good gear. This game, like, pretty much what SDF has been saying is he wants it to, like, he's like, oh, we want, like, the focus on the PvP to make the PvP, like, you know, more desirable for a lot of players. You know, cool. Problem. The PvP in this game isn't that deep, and I'm okay with that. That's not an issue to me. I've defended simple PvP in this game for a very, very long time. Because primarily speaking, this game is a looter extraction game. The loot should be the most important thing. That should be the reason you play this game, and what, you know, the main driving factor behind it is. Oh, I want to get better gear. Oh, I want to kill people for their gear. You know, that is what it is to me. That is what it's always been to a lot of players. Gear is the most important thing. But he's decided to move away from that and try to move towards a more PvP aspect. And I hate to say it, that shit's just not going to work. Like, you do not have a good enough foundation to transition your game to that. People do not play this game because they love the PvP. I don't. And I love this game. I have, what, like 2,700, almost 2,800 hours in this game. I don't play this game because it's got cool, fun, complex PvP. I don't play it because I can skill diff people. I play it because I can get really good gear and be really strong and have a good time. So, and the problem is one of the main reasons people enjoy PvP is because whenever you get good and you start beating people, guess what you get? Their loot. Why should I care about that now? I mean, like, yeah, maybe, you know, they have a really good piece of gear that has 2 really good rolls, but overall, it's not much better than what I have on. I could go full green gear with max HP on it, and I could feel very similar in strength to a fighter that's in blues and purples. Right? Like, maybe they have 1 more roll than me, but what is that? Like, some more action speed, some more power? It's not that big a deal. So I don't know how this is going to work. I said it before, I was like, I was excited for it, and I wasn't sure how they were going to do it. This is the way that I did not want them to. There should still be like, gear disparity is not a bad thing. It should always exist. Because gear disparity does 2 things. 1, it gives people a reason to play the game to get better gear. And 2, it's just another layer of fun added on top. When you find that really good piece of gear, And it's not even just in this game. Think of any game that has, a looting system. Like, if you guys have ever played, like, Borderlands, if you've ever played Skyrim, anytime you open a chest and you find something in it that's really good, boom, you're excited, you're happy, like, oh, this is sick. I got this really cool piece of gear. And they just recently increased gear. They just raised, like, the rarity of gear that was dropping, made it so better gear drop more often. And then you pretty much kill the incentive to get that gear. Because why would I care about a purple piece of gear when a blue piece of gear with 2 rolls is pretty much 90% just as good? It's just not enough of a difference for me to really care about it to play the game. So, moving on now to the last thing I want to talk about really quick before Barbarian. So, yeah. Barbarian, got some interesting changes this patch. Two-hander, now has 15% armor penetration. I gonna be real. I don't know how this makes it through testing. Just kidding, I do. They don't test anything. They just send it alive and let us be their guinea pigs. So, this is incredibly broken for a numerous amount of reasons. One, okay, the number one reason I don't like this is because this is a perk that is directly designed to counter their hardest matchup in fighter. That is not good. You do not build characters and give them things that directly counter what is supposed to counter them. It would be like, I'm trying to think. Like, you know how fighter had spell reflection? Imagine if spell reflection were actually a good skill. Or imagine if you gave fighter anti-magic, right? Like gave fighter iron will. It would be kind of similar to that. It's like fighter's hardest counter is supposed to be magic damage, so it shouldn't have high MR. So they shouldn't get so if they had anti-magic, that would change the entire scope of the game and how the characters played and what's good against it. It would just go from, oh, this is what counters me, to haha, you don't counter me anymore, I have a free 25% MR. That's exactly how this is. They just gave Barbarian a free 15% armor pen, and when you couple that with things like Warmaul or Bardiche, it becomes ridiculous. Just with Warmaul, base kit, you now have 35% armor pen. Keep in mind, they just lowered PDR and they lowered HP. And Barbarian is one of the characters that historically has had, you see, I'm base kit and I'm 140 HP, and I have, one piece of HP gear on. I do not have much HP at all in this kit. Getting 180 HP, 200 HP on a Barbarian is still incredibly easy to do if you wear the right pieces of gear. And they just gave them these free stats on top. So Barbarian, which is still the tankiest class in the game, even more so now has a better counter to the thing they were directly weak against, which was fighter. And even then, it wasn't like fighter hard countered them. It was like the Barbarian could still beat them pretty easily. If you had a Warmaul, you could still beat fighters most of the time. Now, you're just doing that way more. Pretty much, if you were a good Barbarian now, you should never lose to a fighter. Now, moving on from two-hander. Oh, also, sorry, one more thing before I move away from that. The problem with this that I have, other than it being oh, I now counter my counter, Barbarian's best builds were already two-handed weapons. If you used a one-handed weapon on Barbarian, you were basically trolling, right? Bardiche has been their best weapon for I don't know, 2-3 months now? Quite a while. There hasn't been a really good one-handed Barbarian build in a minute. Two-hander, you just buff a perk that buffs the playstyle that was already good. You don't bring up any of the worst playstyles, you just buff this. And then, on top of that, they rebuffed axe specialization to 5 weapon damage. And if what is a... Oh, sorry, wrong weapon here. Where's my squire at? What is a Bardiche? It counts as an axe. So, if you guys remember, they nerfed Bardiche when the Barbarian epidemic was going around. I believe it was sometime last wipe. They nerfed it, and they gave it axe specialization to make up for that. So they nerfed the base damage, but if you had axe specialization on, your damage was roughly equal to what it was before, so you didn't really lose damage, but you were forced to run a perk to keep that damage. Now, they just rebuffed axe specialization back, so Bardiche is just net buffed, which doesn't really make sense if your whole plan was to nerf it because it was the best weapon. Also, you do that in addition with two-hander buff, so you just directly buffed it even more. So not only does it now have 5 more damage, or 2 more damage for the buff, it now has 15% armor pen. Which is, I don't get it. But it is what it is. And then lastly, Rage has been rebuffed. Before, it was 10 Strength, 10 Vigor, 10% move speed, and you lose 10% physical damage reduction. Now, it is 15 Strength, 15 Vigor, 15% move speed for 15% physical damage reduction. Now, I don't know about you guys, but 5 Strength, 5 Vig, and 5% move speed for 5 more or 5% more PDR is a pretty good deal. Also, on top of them, I'm just recently removing double move speed boots this patch. You then give Barbarian more move speed, and now that move speed is even more valuable than it was before because people aren't as fast, and the Barbarian like before, like if people had double move speed boots and you only had one, then you were definitely like you were a lot slower than them. But now you all have at most single move speed boots, and they're a lot cheaper. I can just like probably look in the market right now and see like let's go like Lightfoot's boots with just go like add move speed. Boom, you can just buy something that's insanely cheap. Like you can buy like three or four move speed boots for like 300 gold, and no one's gonna be much faster than you. Like, and yeah, to be fair, those kind of suck now, so lace turn shoes are probably better. But you guys get the point I'm making here. Overall, also they increased Barbarian's base strength by 5. I forgot about that. They increased it from 20 to 25. I have the cat skin on, so I'm -1 strength right now. But yeah, they increased their base strength to 25, so they got 5 more strength here, 5 strength, 5 vig, 5% move speed here, 15% armor pen, and 2 weapon damage. In one patch, they got 2 weapon damage, 15% armor penetration, 10 strength, 5 vig, 5% move speed. While everybody else also got their tankiness lowered. So, what's up with that, guys? And keep in mind, we have Franciscas, so now Franciscas all have 15 weapon damage. So, all these characters that are squishier, they lost 15 HP. They buffed Barbarian, they buffed Franciscas effectively. And, yeah. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for the video for now. I don't know. It is certainly a patch of all time. It's pretty horrible, if I'm being honest. But I don't know. I think this patch is it's either gonna kill the game to the point they have to revert it, or it's going to everybody's gonna love it. Let's see the players. I mean, the players are like 23,000. This is pretty normal, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I don't particularly like the patch. I don't hate it. I think the Barbarian buffs are way more egregious than the gear changes, honestly. I think with this existing in the game, we definitely can't get a good feel for how PvP is because Barbarian is so insanely broken. But yeah, that is going to wrap it up for me. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.